All right, everyone, The Atlantic has decided to take a leaf out of its own playbook from 2016 in that election and declare Trump to be unfit for office because he's insane in some way. I thought the irony of this is funny on so many levels. First, because The Atlantic doesn't want to talk about Joe Biden being unable to even string a sentence together. Like, he's worse than W was at the end of his presidency. Like, you know how W was like, after 7 or so years, when he appeared in public at all, he wasn't as well spoken as he even was when he first began the presidency. Part of that was an act. It was an act to to distract from the fact that he was evil and make people convinced that he was just dumb. But in Biden's case, it's that he's old and he's gaining dementia. He's getting demented. The Atlantic doesn't talk about this. So Joe Biden stands up on stage. There has been not one speech, not one public event with Joe Biden where he has appeared normal and non-demented. Not a single appearance. Trump is perfectly capable of giving a teleprompted speech for an hour and not making any significant errors. Yet Trump is the one that's called potentially demented, like potentially insane. I don't think so. And they're digging it up out of their own playbook. That's the funny part, because The Atlantic was doing this years ago. Trump is not well. Trump appears to have cognitive difficulties. What difficulties? He's managed the fucking country for the last few years. We're not in a depression. We're not in a major war. There hasn't been any major foreign policy catastrophe that I can tell. I'm not so sure why people are so fucking concerned. I feel pretty safe. If we're being led by a demented lunatic, that demented lunatic is arguably doing better than most of the other modern presidents. I don't see what the problem is. He's doing a better job than Obama or Bush. That's for sure. I think that at this point, unless you're a political partisan, that's pretty much inarguable. It is inarguable. By the way, I think his approval is still around where Obama's was at this point in his presidency. I think Obama was a little bit higher. This is the political season drags on. Obama was being increasingly compared to people who became less and less savory. That's going to happen with Trump too. His approval will climb. We'll just see where it ends up on Election Day, of course. That definitely matters. Not sure 47 is actually the magical number. Not in such a weird election season. Especially with the schismatic tendencies of the Democrats. I can't wait to see where that will go. And as the clown car gets a little bit less jam-packed, it could finally move again. But the idea that Trump has any cognitive failures going on is contravened by everything that we've heard from anyone around him. We get these occasional moments where some anonymous source within the administration says Trump forgot his own daughter's name or some shit like that. The source is always anonymous. There is never any sourcing going on, and it's never a public thing. With Biden, meanwhile, and I guess this isn't considered newsworthy to The Atlantic, we have evidence every single fucking day of Biden breaking down and not knowing. He stumbles around and says, "Oh, what am I doing here? Oh, yeah, I'm here in Keene in Vermont." Like he got Vermont and New Hampshire mixed up. Honest mistake for many people. Biden should probably know better, since New Hampshire is one of the most important states to wine and dine for him, because it's one of the early fucking primary states. He can't even remember that he's in New Hampshire at the time. He can't remember Obama's name. He can't remember Trump's name. He can't remember what year it is or what year major events happened in. Oh yeah, JFK, that president in the 1940s. I love that dude. Back when I was 30. I mean, he says crazy shit. It's not even being hyperbolic. Like, he says weird shit. Not newsworthy at all. No. You're a conspiracy theorist if you think there's anything wrong with that. Especially since Biden's considerably older than Trump and has, like, eye bleeds and has had aneurysms and shit. So that's a conspiracy theory. But if you suggest that Trump weaving one of his tall tales up on stage that he uses over and over and over again because it works like A/B testing, that's evidence of a cognitive decline. Interesting. So you're saying that a dude with dementia managed to become the president because the candidate that The Atlantic obviously backed, which was Hillary Clinton, fucking sucked. And he'll probably be reelected because all of your candidates fucking suck. Joe Biden fucking sucks. Bernie Sanders fucking sucks dick. All of these people suck. None of them are electable. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Elizabeth Warren spent most of her life lying about her race. She's nuts. Kamala Harris, who's not even viable anymore, was a tough-on-crime prosecutor who threw black dudes in prison for extended sentences, used them as slave labor because of the sin of having a joint. And then you've got Joe Biden, who's clearly demented, and all the Atlantic can talk about is it's feeling that Trump has something wrong with him. Oh my goodness, we're being led by a madman. No, he'd be led by a madman if Joe Biden was elected, and arguably Bernie Sanders too. Bernie Sanders, like what, 77 years old? How fucking long do you think he can continue to work before there's some degree of cognitive decline? You've got where's your article about Ruth Bader Ginsburg being apparently unable to even walk on her own at this point? You see her in the increasingly sporadic times when you see her in public at all. She's got somebody on either arm and she could barely lift her head. Now, there's no cognitive decline. She barely speak, but, you know, she's a strong, empowered woman. But Trump over there, he's a bloated gas bag and a has-been and just a lunatic. Interesting. So Trump is basically the less cognitively developed version of Adolf Hitler, and yet he's still better than Hillary Clinton, got elected anyway, and he's probably going to get elected again. The American people, what does that say about the fucking Democratic Party? And it is, by the way, this does bear mentioning. Trump, if he's reelected, it won't just be, well, Trump is a strong candidate, he's such a well-loved U.S. president. No, the Democrats are fumbling constantly. You suck. The Democratic field fucking sucks. All of the people there are losers by and large. The few people that could have buoyed like Gillibrand, she had to drop out. Never got any traction. Trump was not joking when he said that Gillibrand was the one he was actually afraid of. When she got in, he was probably concerned she would actually rocket to the top because she, compared to some of these other people, cleaner track record. She's got the experience while not being fucking totally over the hill. Looks decent for the cameras, well-spoken. She had every advantage. But being a good candidate apparently disqualifies you in the Dem field today. The Democrats are so fucking miserably corrupt and so nuts, and they've gone so far off the far left deep end that being a normal, reasonable, potentially electable human being disqualifies you in the primaries. It's going to become a fucking problem. I'm seeing, dude, there are leftists that I speak to on a regular basis. Even they're like, what the hell is happening with the Dem field? Joe Biden? Really? His time, maybe 2 decades ago, Joe Biden would have been a viable contender. Not today. Elizabeth Warren? Yeah, that's going to go over real well. It's going to go over like oil on water. Bernie Sanders is the one that some of them find tolerable. I'm telling you, he's not viable. The average American will not tolerate a socialistic president. He uses that term proudly. He's loud and proud about it. That's disqualifying. You may like him as a person. Say, well, at least he's got a good track record. Okay, he does have a rock-solid track record. He is running a grassroots campaign. Let me give credit where credit's due. Bernie Sanders doesn't guzzle corporate cock. That being said, he's a socialist. The average center-left American will not vote for him. You need to understand that there is nobody viable other than Buttigieg in the Democratic field. And he's not being taken seriously, mainly because he refused to make his sexual orientation one of his best features. His refusal to say, hey, I'm gay, fucking vote for me, is the reason why he's gaining no traction. He already peaked months ago and declined. He's still declining now. The Atlantic talking about Trump is insane. You've got to be, the DNC has to be insane with the way that it's governing things. And they're pissing off 2 or 3 points within their own ranks by not allowing Gabbard on the debate stage. You should just let Gabbard get on the debate stage and destroy Elizabeth Warren's political career so that the whole thing comes fucking crashing down. Bernie Sanders probably becomes your nominee because Biden might croak up on a debate stage at any given time anyway. He gives a speech and his eyes start bleeding. Don't you fucking see a problem with the Dem field? Trump is insane. Well, I guess that it's better to be a lunatic than a Democrat right now, then. I guess it's better to be morbidly demented, obese, corrupt, a Russian pawn, a terrible scumbag. That's better than being a Democrat right now. That's basically what you're saying to me. Okay, granted. That's about all. Peace out.